So, if anybody has been paying attention, there have been a lot more attacks on Ron Paul recently. And it's coming from both sides, both Republicans and Democrats. But the criticism isn't the same. And just wanted to lay out the few criticisms that they can, that they have and try to address them. First, I'll talk about Democrats and liberals. Conservatives seem to have this perception that the only Ron Paul supporters are only Democrats, and this is largely false. They should be thankful that Ron Paul, with his message of being anti-war, is able to bring Democrats over to the side of limited government, because that's what Republicans are supposed to stand for. And, everybody on the Democratic side is anti-war, or so they claim. So when you have one Republican saying that he's anti-war, a Democrat or a liberal isn't going to just vote for him when he has 8 other choices to choose from. No, they're voting for Ron Paul because they like his other ideas as well. Like they're coming to the realization that, hey, I don't want the federal government in my life. And I think a lot of Democrats and liberals that don't like him are beginning to see this. They're sensing this, and that there is a possibility of Ron Paul winning. You can look on blogs where their goal is to now derail the Ron Paul campaign by posting all these negative posts, so that way it gets on Google, etc., etc. Much like how Red State always does. Whenever you search for Ron Paul, Red State would always be up there at the top, and it was always negative. Well, I guess that's their goal. And when I flip through the posts, the biggest things that they always seem to complain about is that Ron Paul's a racist and he's against women's rights or something like that. And when it comes to the women's rights thing, I have not seen or found anything. I think it's just, swift boat tactics. I swear. I just think it's just stuff that's being said just to try to derail. People are Googling Ron Paul, and then they go, oh, he doesn't stand for women's rights? Well, I'm not voting for him. The racist remarks, to be on the liberal side, it's partly true, but, he's been around in politics since 1976, and through all of his writings, through every single speech, through every single thing that he's ever said or written, he's never said anything once racist, except for one newsletter. One. In 1992, I believe it was. So they're trying to link him to being a racist from one newsletter. Now, Ron Paul has claimed that it was a ghostwriter and not himself, but he also says that he will take full responsibility for it, and he apologized for it. Now, even if the fact that is a pretty lame excuse, the whole ghostwriter thing, more than likely it's true. Because when you think about it, what else has Ron Paul said? Please, show me some more evidence. I would like to see it. Now, the other liberals' complaints usually derive from the fact that they don't like his ideas of limited government, the fact that he wants to end Social Security, end welfare, and all these other things, as well as the fact that he's so strong on immigration and the borders. Liberals are very intimidated by that. They believe that the government should be there to help, and his ideas of eliminating the IRS and everything just doesn't sit well with them. But obviously, any normal American who really isn't very political, when they watch a debate between, let's say, a true liberal like Dennis Kucinich and a true conservative like Ron Paul, that'd be a really good debate, and it would show the pros and cons of both sides, because I understand the whole pro-government ideology. Personally, as I said in other videos, I am a left-leaning libertarian, not a right-leaning libertarian. And I believe, just as Ron Paul states, that if we're going to have any government control, it really should be left to the states. As stated in our 10th Amendment to the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. Seriously, we just need to let states decide. If we shouldn't have to be forced to pay taxes to cover somebody else's health insurance, for example, halfway across the country. If anything, I'm more liberal when it comes to local politics and partially to state politics, but the more federal we go, I'm more conservative, because really, government should not, especially the federal government, should not be involved in our lives. So, I mean, if we just brought down all these departments and everything, I mean, liberals aren't all of a sudden going to lose everything they have. I'm sure there's going to be state-sponsored, education funding, like grants and whatnot, and state-sponsored health care, and, it would just be a lot wiser. And that way, every state could be different and have different sets of rules, and other states can learn from the states that work well and stay away from programs that other states do badly in, I mean, it'll reflect so much better. And we have examples, and we'll have examples on how well certain systems work. I just think that would work a lot better than having the federal government just dictate everything. Now, conservatives, on the other hand, they don't really talk about his economic issues or social issues because they agree with him for the most part. I'd say that their two biggest points is foreign policy and experience. And when it comes to foreign policy, I think that they believe, this is my own opinion, of course, that they believe Ron Paul's ideas of a non-interventionist foreign policy is practical because they used to follow that doctrine not too long ago, at least until September 11th, 2001. And I think that's where their argument comes in. It's like, well, non-interventionists work great, but ever since terrorism, we need to stand strong, we need to protect ourselves. And that's a good argument. Like, look, I disagree, but it's a good argument to make. And I'm not gonna criticize somebody because they believe that we need to protect ourselves from terrorism. And experience, Ron Paul's experience, 10 terms in Congress. I mean, really, he doesn't have any executive experience. But I mean, that's why you have a cabinet. That's why you have people there to help you, people with like-minded ideas. And the thing is that really the type of campaign that Ron Paul's running, he doesn't really need too much executive experience anyways, because he's not trying to run anything. He's trying to scale it back. So, I mean, and he's certainly, a good talker. He's certainly a good diplomat. I just don't think that the experience issue is really that credible here. So that's just, I don't know, that's just how I feel. So I find it funny that a lot of liberals and conservatives are trying to derail the campaign because more Americans are getting behind it, and the news media is taking notice, and he's running at 6% nationally now in several polls, 8% in New Hampshire, tied with McCain in Iowa, 5%. I mean, nobody can say that he doesn't stand a chance anymore because he is rising in the polls now, the national, the polls that just doesn't even target young people and the people who don't have land phones and stuff. I mean, real Americans are starting to learn. So, all right, that's all.